Oh, sorry.
I'd like to call to order this meeting of the Moore County Board of Education, Monday, December 9th, 2019, at 5 p.m. Is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I move the board enter into closed session to prevent the disclosure of confidential personnel information pursuant to GS 143-318-11A1, A5, and A6, and GS 115C-319, and to consult with the board attorney and preserve the attorney-client privilege pursuant to GS 143-318-11A3.
Is there a second? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, the board will go into closed session with return at 6:30. Thank you. Sounds really good. Angels, right? This is a first for us. We've never played standing up before. They're going, oh gosh, this is different. Amy, you see it?
She doesn't know what to do.
Neither do I. One more. You got one more? Okay. Need you to take your stand, disassemble, put them back in that thing, so put the car. Okay? Thank you all. Great job, guys. Everybody take a stand. Another round of applause for these temporary young
Great job, guys.
Thank you so much for coming.
Same time next month, okay? Next month, same time.
Thank you, guys. That was great.
Thank you. Thanks for
So
having
much.
us.
Appreciate you very much. It's wonderful.
Did Eamon ever come on? This time I'll call back to order the meeting of the Moore County Board of Education. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approved by, what are we, 6-0. Thank you. Ms. Wallen Miller? Are you gonna, I see, we got Mr. McCormick here. Mr. McCormick, would you like to introduce your students?
Yes. Chairwoman Carter, Dr. Grimsey, board members, first I'd like to extend a happy holidays from Union Pines High School. I hope you all got your poinsettias from earlier this evening. Tonight it's my honor to present to you two of our outstanding juniors from Union Pines High School, Miss Bailey Douglas with her Pledge of Allegiance and Miss McKenna Moore with our inspiration tonight.
Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hello, my name is McKenna, and I was asked to give the inspiration tonight, and I wanted to talk about Union Pines. I think Union Pines might be the best school that I've gone to, and a big reason for that would be the staff. A big reason for that would be the staff. You can feel that the staff love what they do, and they love to help the students do it in any way that they can. For example, the other day I went to Mr. McCormick's office to ask him a question, and he was talking to someone, he was being a bit rude when I knocked on the door, but he I asked my question, and he asked me how I was doing in my classes. And I personally appreciated that because he didn't have to do that. He didn't have to ask me how I was doing. He could have just answered my question, and I could have been on with my day. I've learned to appreciate the little things, and I think that's why I appreciated that so much. I'm sorry. It proved to me that the school really practices what they preach. And what I mean by that is that the Union Pines vision is to make a safe and exciting environment. And there isn't one teacher at that school that I would think I can't talk to them about something or I can't confide in them about something because they all make me feel safe and they all make me feel welcomed at that school. And another big reason why I like going to Union Pines would be the students. I've moved quite a lot before I came here, and a lot of the students would throw my race or my gender or even my religion back in my face, but that's never happened here. The students don't really care about don't really care about your race or religion or gender. They care about who you are and what you have to offer. And I think that's why I love going to Union Pines so much. Thank you.
Okay, so you're Bailey, right? Yes. Okay. And I'm gonna let you have a picture with me. I know you're thrilled. We're gonna right out here.
For coming tonight.
I might be switching.
Please join me for a moment of silence. Thank you. This month, we recognize those staff who work behind the scenes to support our school-based staff, teachers, every day. This is my favorite month. First, I'd like to bring up Jessica Andrews. Please join Chair Carter at the front. Jessica Andrews with Transportation is this month's Operations Engage, Inspire, Succeed honoree. Mrs. Andrews is a transportation specialist and interim TIMS manager for the Transportation Department. Ms. Andrews has been with Moore County for 19 years. Hard to believe when she looks like she's 21. Ms. Andrews has been, she supervises and manages bus drivers and has been the TIMS manager for Bus Routing Solutions. She understands the importance the bus drivers play in the daily lives of our children. Ms. Andrews works with principals and school administrators to ensure that bus drivers are up to date with safety trainings and best practices in transporting students. She communicates with schools and parents to assist them with concerns regarding transportation. And I've heard many parents call you and you answer all their questions. So thank you. Ms. Andrews has a great sense of humor and loves to laugh and smile. She wants to learn as much as she can and strives to get better every day. She understands that transportation can be challenging, but she works very hard to support the schools and families that she serves. Congratulations, Mrs. Andrews. John Barath and Dr. Dale Buie, please stand. Are you all in here? Back there somewhere? There's Dr. Buie. Okay, thank you for supporting her and members of Ms. Andrews' family. Are you here today? There you go. Please stand. We got to thank you too.
You just retired from transportation? That's crazy.
Officer Henry Schamberger, please join Chair Carter at the front. Oh, there you are. Officer Schamberger is this month's Engage, Inspire, Succeed Moore County Schools Police honoree. Officer Schamberger has been with Moore County Schools Police Department since 2015. He currently serves at West End Elementary, West Pine Elementary, and West Pine Middle. Officer Schamberger has a wealth of experience from his chosen profession of law enforcement. He has worked in multiple counties in various capacities during his career. Officer Schamberger is engaged in our community and is well known as an officer that will assist anyone in need. He impacts the lives of our youth and is always willing to provide guidance and assistance. He is a tremendous asset to law enforcement profession and the Moore County Schools Police Department. Congratulations, Officer Schamberger. Chief Fry, are you here, or members of Officer Schamberger's family? Are you here? Oh, there you are. Your family. Thank you again. Pam Bauer, please join Chair Carter at the front. Pam Bauer, Administrative Assistant for the Career and Technical Education and Federal Programs Department, is this month's Engage, Inspire, Succeed Ed Center honoree. A great employee is like a four-leaf clover, hard to find and lucky to have. I thought that was so nice. Pam Bauer is that employee. She joined Moore County Schools in August of 2017 and is the glue that keeps the Career and Technical Education and Federal Programs Department together. However, her dedication to this district does not stop there. She works to support school bookkeepers, helps keep daily operations at the Ed Center flowing, and is always looking for ways to assist and improve. She strives for excellence, pays great attention to detail, and is always willing to lend a helping hand. Ms. Bauer is greatly appreciated by her team, who view working with her as a privilege and value all she does for their department and for Moore County Schools. Congratulations, Ms. Bauer. Amanda Dixon, please stand, and members of the Bauer family as well, and be recognized. Oh, there's Amanda. And you. I'm going to have to remember that four-leaf clover one. That's good. All right, Jonathan Vargas, please join Chair Carter at the front. Jonathan Vargas is this month's Engage, Inspire, Succeed Technology honoree. Mr. Vargas began working at Moore County Schools in February of this year as a desktop specialist and has been a vital asset to the technology department. When he arrived, he hit the ground running by taking over the responsibilities of the position with very little assistance. He has improved applications and procedures to better serve our staff and students. His contributions include desktop imaging, software and desktop inventory, and application deployment systems, improving the functioning of the imaging and software management systems, completing the implementation of our new network monitoring system to detect outages in the district, and improving the mobile device management systems in the district. Do you sleep? That's a lot. Mr. Vargas is an important part of the Moore County Schools technology family. Congratulations to Mr. Vargas. Mr. Eklund, please stand, and members of the Vargas family who are here, please stand and be recognized. All right, typically we don't have a student honoree for the month of December, but we do honor those students who have achieved a statewide or national award or recognition. So this month we have a special recognition for Carmen Alder. I should know that. Your name is in the paper a lot. Carmen, please join Chair Carter. Carmen is a junior at Pinecrest High School. In November, Carmen captured the 4A Girls Individual Cross Country State Championship for the second year in a row with a time of 17 minutes, 58 seconds, 54, almost half a minute ahead of the second place runner. Carmen continues to place in every event that she participates in at state championships with a total of six state titles. And you're a junior? Last fall, she became the first Lady Patriot to claim a cross-country state championship. Pinecrest High School is very proud of Carmen and for her athletic accomplishments and success in the classroom. Congratulations, Carmen. Principal Phillips and members of the Alder family, please stand and be recognized.
This one, I'd like to recognize Carmen's coach as well, Coach John Buchholz back here. Madam Chair, I also want to note that Carmen was pressed by her sister, who finished third in the state, Vanessa. Is Vanessa here, or is she out practicing? Training, okay. Every night she can get where she knows Carmen can't be training tonight, so she's out doing the extra mile. So congratulations to the whole family.
Then we would move on to our program highlight, Dr. Grimacy.
Direct to Dr. Metcalf.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. As you know, we have incredible arts programs here in Moore County. We wanted to take a moment and pause and celebrate the season and recognize some of those arts program. We have a double treat for you tonight, not just one but two. We started out the night with the Southern Middle School Clarinet Quintet, but at Southern Middle School they do things really big, so they had more than 5 people here. And they were fantastic. They're under the direction of Wendy Edgerly. And then for the program highlight, we'd like to bring in the Union Pines Choir under the direction of Elizabeth Shaver.
Realign ourselves here.
Thank you for having us here tonight. Yes, my name is Elizabeth Shaver. This is my second year teaching at Union Pines High School. I am so excited to present these lovely women. They are part of our Chamber and Valkyrie program. Those are our honors ensembles. Tonight we will be performing 2 selections. One will be Bethlehemu, which is a Nigerian Christmas carol, and the second will be Carol of the Bells. If you would like to hear us again, we will be performing tomorrow night at the Bowles Tree Lighting down in Southern Pines. Wednesday morning for the Rotary Club breakfast. Thursday night is lessons and carols of the Pines at the Fair Barn, and then Saturday morning breakfast with Santa. And then our whole choir concert will be December 17th at 7:30 at Union Pines High School. We hope to see you there. Thank you so much. Bethlehemu, good cheer, Christmas is here. Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, on a distant on without end. Ding dong, la la la, sweet smelling bells all seem to say, throw cares away. Christmas is here, bringing good cheer to young and old, meek and the poor. Ding dong, that is their song. Joyful ring, all caroling. One seems to hear words of good cheer from everywhere, filling the air. Oh, how they pound, raising the song, gaily they dance, they'll never tell. Gaily they ring, while people sing songs of good cheer. Christmas is here. Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, on a distant on without end. Ding on a distant on without end. Their joyful tone to every home. Ding dong, ding dong. Thank you so much for having us. Thank you so much. Great job, guys.
Christmas. No, not the shopping spirit. I said the Christmas spirit.
Absolutely beautiful. We'll take just a moment to let everyone get on out who is going so we can settle back down.
I don't understand why we can't have that every time. I'm just
We
saying.
have enough talented children throughout the community that we certainly could.
That was great.
Truly the spirit of Christmas. We'll move now to our consent agenda. Is there a motion?
So move.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor of the approval of the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. We are now in line to move to a public hearing on school closures and property disposal. The purpose of this public address is to give members of the public an additional opportunity to express their thoughts on the proposed closing and means of disposal of the following school sites: Aberdeen Primary School at 310 Keister Street, Aberdeen; Aberdeen Elementary School at 503 North Sandhills Boulevard, Aberdeen; Southern Pines Primary at 1250 West New York Avenue, Southern Pines; and Southern Pines Elementary School at 225 South May Street, Southern Pines. Comments on other subjects may be made during the board's regular public comment period, but not during this time. Speakers who have signed up and are now present may speak. Time is limited to 3 minutes per individual speaker. Our first speaker tonight is Fenton Wilkinson. Oh, we already did it.
Madam Chair, Board, Dr. Grimacy, I first want to express my appreciation to you for acknowledging the cultural and historic significance of the Southern Pines Primary School and your willingness to entertain the plans of the Southern Pines Land and Housing Trust to redevelop and celebrate and honor this historical and cultural significance. There is one matter, though, in the proposed resolution that I saw in the packet that gives me cause for concern. And as I read the resolution as presently drafted, the Land Trust has to accept the offer by June 1st of 2020. And if not, then the auction will start on June 20th, June 1st, 2020. This is over a year before the school is scheduled to be vacated, and we've already had one delay, so it could be significantly longer. The reason that this is a concern for me as we met, the Land Trust met with school board and Dr. Grimacy over a year ago, and everybody expressed their desire to avoid a repetition of the Academy Heights situation in Taylortown. And the Land Trust would request that the motion that's passed not contain the June 1st date, but some date longer than that. And the reason is to give the Land Trust the opportunity to do a feasibility study. And this is not a request for a delay. We're already working on it. We already have $50,000 that has been donated by one donor towards the cost of the feasibility study. We have, we're in the process of scheduling the first week of January for the representatives from the National and State Office of the USDA Rural Development to come down for a site visit. They've expressed very strong interest in our project for a community facilities grant. Those are in the neighborhood of $1 million, so it's a significant portion of what we need. But as a precondition to our being able to either accept the offer or even to be a bidder in the process, if the appraisal is not done till March, then that gives us 90 days to raise the money. We can't go out and raise money based on not even knowing, how much it's going to be, and whether or not the county has relinquished their right of first refusal. So the request would be that the language, and I have a handout, would be that the June 1st date be substituted for 6 months after the completion of the appraisal process.
Thank you. And if you have papers you'd like to leave with Ms. Potter? Okay. Okay. Our next speaker is Vincent Gordon.
Good evening, Madam Chair and boards of members of the board. Thank you for having me again this evening. Since the last time and we received the resolution, I'd like to say thank you. It's very well thought out proposal, and we have reviewed it, and it looked like it took quite some time to review and give the answers that you gave us back. So I'd like to say, first of all, appreciate that. Since the last time that I spoke with the board, nothing has happened short of getting additional support from the community as far as this project and what our undertaking is. We have, I can't walk down Southern Pines anywhere without getting somebody to say, again, thank you for Vince for what you're doing. You and your trust. And we are behind you 100%. So it has just come to a lot of support from the community that has exploded with anticipation of what we're trying to do. Since that time also, we've had a charrette with a well-known author with the community. And that turned into a weekend workshop that we had where we actually sat around and exchanged ideas on how best to approve and move towards this transition. And that was a very, very well supported workshop that we had with a tour of the school. It was a phenomenal event. Also, I don't know if you all got the chance to go, but we also had a well-known film director also did the Under the Kudzu film, where we had the auditorium at Southern Pines Primary was completely full with support. So the community is behind us 100%. So what I'd like to ask from the board, more so at this point in time, is this is not just a transition by ourselves. It's not to be just kind of given us and we just got to make it happen. We are asking for the board to support us in this transition. I call it cooperative transition. It's the way it's got to be. You have to have. We're going to work on a transition plan, but unless everyone is part of that plan, I don't see how it's going to be successful. So we're going to need your support also to help this be and help us be successful. One more thing I just kind of wrote down in my notes is not about how fast we can empty a building, but the time it takes to build a stronger community. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Dot Brower.
Good evening, Madam Chair and Superintendent Grimacy, other board members and audience. We have a challenging but a very good opportunity in Southern Pines to establish or reestablish an educational facility and property that will serve not only Southern Pines but the region. I look back on when our Rosenwald School was completed in 1925. In 1930, the very first graduating class of 11th grades. And I also look back, not as far back, to the late Reverend Fred Walden, who made sure before he passed that this Land and Housing Trust Board was fully staffed and had the charge of his mission of reacquiring this property and making it into a center for economic development, for adult learning and training, for health services, early childhood education, a credit union, and a center for the community for youth athletic events, just to name a few. So before he died, he made sure that this board was intact with the leadership of retiree Vincent Gordon, and members as Fenton Wilkinson and other members from the community. We have a very good working group that we're very proud of the work they have done so far, and also with the proposed negotiation with you for the acquisition of the school. I also see that we have a very challenging deadline as has been outlined, and I concur with Fenton that this is a challenge, but we are also happy to know that we have support. I represent the best graduating class of that school, class of 1969. And the few of us who are still here want to see our campus energized. We had the privilege of having not only just educational opportunity there, but vocational. It was a family, and it still is a family. I also represent about 50 individuals who live out of state who have a vested interest in the future of that property. So I applaud you for what you have done to cooperate with us at this point, and also ask you to please give us the benefit of acquiring that property and making sure that it is a center that we can all be proud of for the county, not just for the town. Thank you.
Thank you. Richard Schmidt.
Good evening, Madam Commissioner. Appreciate the time. Board. My name is Richard Schmidt. I live at 1260 Midland Road, Southern Pines. I moved here in 2002. I have a high school age daughter who attends the O'Neill School, and I do happily pay my taxes. Why am I speaking in support of the Southern Pines Land and Housing Trust acquiring Southern Pines Primary? I know some of the people that live in West Southern Pines. They believe in their community and their kids. These are good people who are committed to making their community the best it can be. Most importantly, though, they have a vision for what the primary school can be. They have a vision for what the site can do, not for just the West Southern Pines community, but a broader reach for the entire Southern Pines community, and in fact, reaching all of Moore County. This school will be a unifying element in Southern Pines. West Southern Pines will no longer be the lost city. It will open its doors to all citizens of Moore County, and people of all color will be able to use and access the site. I will remind the board of the history of the school. Mr. Rosenwald provided the land and seed money and required the community to raise matching funds to encourage their commitment to these projects. This is precisely what happened right here in Southern Pines. The West Southern Pines community matched funds and saw their school built. Almost 100 years later, West Southern Pines and numerous other nonprofits are poised to raise money and awareness and pursue several federal grants to build a place that will transform the community once again, and to continue to provide a place that will be for the betterment of all peoples. Just so you know, many of Rosenwald's schools are on the National Register of Historic Places. Many others have been adapted for new uses. Walnut Cove, colored school in Stokes County, North Carolina, recently won a National Preservation Honor Award for its rehab for use as a senior citizen community center. The Hope Rosenwald School in Pomeria, South Carolina, also will be used as a community center. The Highland Park School in Prince George, Maryland, was recently renovated for use as a Head Start center. The Canatuck Rosenwald School in Curry, North Carolina, has been renovated by the local black community and is used as a busy community center. I personally am committed to assisting the Land Trust in doing feasibility study and raising funds so that we can make the board a serious offer to acquire the site. This is the right thing to do. I have nothing to gain but the satisfaction that this will make our entire community a better place to live and work and raise our families. I will be encouraging my friends and neighbors to do likewise and look forward to the board also doing the right thing by this community. It is also my hope, as Dot just mentioned, that the board will flex the timeline on the resolution to allow proper time for the trust to complete feasibility, appraisal, and raise grant. Thank you, Madam Commissioner.
Thank you. And our last speaker for the public hearing is Claude Person. Correct. Oh, okay, okay. Do you want me to add you to the other sheet instead? Where's Mr. Person? Right, so would any of the people that got on the public address to the board sheet be more interested in the school closing public hearing? Everybody's on the right sheet? Okay. Okay, well, that concludes our speakers.
Officially conclude the public hearing.
At our speakers at the public hearing. At this time, I will close the public hearing on the closure of the 4 Southern Pines and Aberdeen schools. All right, we will now move to public address to the board. Again, this is a limit of 3 minutes per speaker. We ask that you maintain civil decorum. I know that the board does not respond to speakers during the meeting. Our first speaker is Gail Simmons.
To the esteemed Moore County School Board of Education, we represent the citizens of northern Moore County concerned about the unfair and dysfunctional educational system our children are being subjected to at Northmore High School under the leadership of the current principal. Some of us have voiced our concerns previously, at least on 2 occasions. Nothing has changed. In fact, in many ways, it has escalated and become more prevalent. Tonight, parents, former coaches, supporters, and citizens with genuine interest in our children's well-being will address some of these issues, including, but not limited to, hiring and firing practices of personnel and coaches, discipline disparities of students charged with the same offense, discernment, personal preference versus sound judgment, fundraisers with guns as prizes, misuse of authority, and consequences of decisions made and the effect on the community. As members of the board, each of you were elected or appointed and took a serious oath, we presume, that you would demonstrate the fortitude and genuine concern for the justice it requires. As we have said, please consider this a second notice. We hope that you will not use this forum as a means to pacify us, listening intently for 3 minutes and then returning to business as usual. We expect you will schedule a time to meet with us soon to completely understand the situation as you endeavor to remedy the situation. Your failure to respond in a timely manner will not thwart our efforts of resolution. We will investigate the mechanics of reactivating the Title VI complaint with the U.S. Department of Education. Thank you for your time and attention in this matter.
Thank you. Drew Bond.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Drew Bond. I'm a resident of Northern Moore County area, primarily with concerns and reservations of how the athletics are being handled for the middle and high school on the northern end of the county. As you may or may not recall, I presented this to the Board of Education April 10th, 2017. Unfortunately, I stand before you this evening. It appears that the athletic department for both the middle and high school has turned into, again, as the puppet show and the rec Daddy Ball League as before. Because of this, the students are being put at a disadvantage. The main question I bring before you again for the second time this evening is, when are we going to raise the bar and require our administrators to be accountable and uphold what they promised the citizens and the students of the Northern Moore end of the county? When are they going to be held accountable for the decisions they are making and the vital decisions that are being swept under the rug and ignored just because they can? The local high school of the Northern Moore has roughly been through probably 30 to 35 coaches with this administrator's tenure. Where's the consistency? You know, is that not a red flag that something is flawed? You can't establish a sustainable athletic program with no consistency. Students and players need a coaching foundation to be able to learn and grow with and from. Think of the coaches like Johnny Nesbitt, Virgil Schamberger. They were there for 25, 30 years, not 1, 2 years, and they're gone. These coaches are here to teach the youth the fundamentals of the sportsmanship, how to win, how to lose, and how to be competitive. Isn't that what we want for our athletic program? No, what it appears to be is the goal is to desires to stack teams based on cliques, last names, and social classes. Same goes for coaches. This is a direct reflection of the administration. There is absolutely no integrity in the Northern Moore administration decision making. Coaches have no desire to coach with administration that does not trust, respect coaching ability, and skill. And if you don't act like their puppet, you won't be there long. This is the mentality and standard that is being set, and I am here this evening to inform you all that this is time for the board to take a stand on these unethical issues and practices. This is not my first conversation, as I said before. I have followed the chain of command, and like everything else on the northern end, if it's not what administration wants to hear, it doesn't matter. Out of sight, out of mind. These kids matter, this athletic program matters, and holding the administration accountable for their actions matter. In conclusion, Board of Education, again, this is my second time presenting to you all in regards to this matter. I have an obligation to stand up for what I think is right and not sit in the shadows for fear of standing out. I'm not demanding anyone to be discharged. I'm simply requesting face-to-face, round-table conversation with the administration and the Northern Moore, top Board of Education decision makers to voice my concerns and be heard for resolution. Actions of the administration, whether directly or indirectly, is having a negative impact on our area, and the future of Northern Moore athletic program is at stake. Thank you for your time, considerations, and understanding. Y'all have a blessed evening.
Thank you. I believe it's Deneen, okay, Deneen Scotton.
Hello, everyone. Hello, board. My name is Denise Scotton, and I was the varsity cheerleading coach at Northmore from October 2012 through September 2015. And I was hired there to coach, teach, and to build the program, and also instill in the girls, values and morals, and support the sports. And when I was there, I wasn't allowed to pick my squad. I wasn't allowed to pick my captains of my squad. I wasn't allowed to select the music. I had to send my music to the AD, and nothing was approved. But other sports areas was allowed to pick their music and didn't have to run it by the AD. And I addressed my issues. I was the type of person that I stand up for what I believe in. I'm all about fairness. And I was treated very unfair. I always had to use the elementary schools to have my camps and my practices. They never had anywhere for us to have good practice. When I started there, the cheerleading squad only had 5. When in a year I turned that around to where they have 2 squad. They had 2 squads, a JV and a varsity squad. I went in there and I built up the program in spite of the hardship I had to go through to do that. I wasn't allowed to select the uniforms where the other coaches was allowed to select their uniforms, select their teams. I wasn't allowed to do that. That's the hardship I went through when I was under that leadership at Northmore. And even though I turned that cheerleading program around, a lot of parents was like, oh God, you're doing a great job, you awesome at what you're doing, because it didn't fit to her satisfaction, or I got too much praise for what I did, I was dismissed. And I contacted Pam Thompson. I even talked to Dr. Porter and told him with the things that I was going through at Northmore, nothing was done. But yet I was let go. And I feel like I went through the chain of command as well. And Dr. Porter told me, I don't know if I can say that name, he's no longer here, but he told me he doesn't go against the principal. So my thing of it is, if you her boss, then what are you there for? That's my opinion. I think things need to change at Northmore, seriously. It's really bad. Thank you.
Thank you. Excuse me, Reverend Damon Hairston.
Good evening, Madam Chair, other board members, and Superintendent. Thank you for this time to come and share with you this evening. I come to you on behalf of the New Zion, AME Zion Church, and the Robbins community. I've pastored that church now for going on 2 years, and since coming to the community, there have been several concerns raised to me about what's going on and what's been taking place at the Northmore High School with the administration there. There's been several complaints about, as you've already heard, about the dismissal, unfair, unjust dismissal of coaching staff. There's been complaints from the students about their considerations and perspective on the matter and not being considered. And so I'm very concerned about what's been taking place. And my real concern is, as these coaches that spoke before me and so many others in the community, we're there. We are a village. We're there to serve the community. And our primary responsibility is to pour into these students and to really serve them, to make sure that we help them to develop to be productive citizens within our community. And what happens when you dismiss people that are as valuable, that bring as much to the table as these coaches that we've referenced tonight, you lose families from the community. You lose impact from the community. And you lose trust on behalf of the students. And so as a pastor in the community, it's a very serious concern when we lose people who are invested in our children. I heard you mention earlier that something in reference to a four-leaf clover being hard to find but lucky to have. Well, we've had coaches who've been on staff for very short tenures who've been hard to find, but we've been lucky to have them. Our students have been lucky to have them. And so what I'm really asking is that we recognize the impact on the Robbins community that this is having on our students, on our families there, and take serious consideration as to what needs to happen to take place within the Northmore High School so that our students receive the impact from the teachers, from the staff that they need, and so that we don't lose families. This has directly affected my congregation. One of the families that was dismissed, one of the coaches that was dismissed was a member of my church. And so to lose a young adult family and that impact that they're having on the community is very, very serious for me. So I just ask that you consider what we're saying tonight very seriously, and that you consider the request to have a roundtable discussion with us to hear the concerns of this community. Thank you.
Thank you. And now Claude Person. Okay. All right, last call. All right, that concludes our speakers for public address. Do we need to take a break? Allow anyone to leave?
No, because I think some are waiting to see what you do with the resolution.
All right, Dr. Grimacy, let us move to board action.
Yes, Madam Chairman, during your meeting on December 2nd, your work session on December 2nd, I presented a recommendation that the board retain the names of the new schools currently under construction in Aberdeen, Southern Pines, and Pinehurst. I also provided a substantial amount of background information and rationale. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. It remains my recommendation that you move forward with taking action to validate that we sustain the names of the new schools that are currently under construction. Happy to answer any questions.
Are there questions, comments? Anyone? Well, let me go ahead and say again, as I did last week, I do think we are missing an opportunity to rebrand slightly here. I know that we are combining schools and using school names that have been in existence for quite many years. I attended Southern Pines Elementary, so if that tells you anything, it's been around a long time. I would hope that if we follow through on this particular board action and go ahead with naming the schools as they have previously been called, that we would encourage our faculty, staffs, principals at the schools to take the opportunity to embrace possibly new mascots, new school colors, new mottos or slogans to look elsewhere. In tribute to Bruce, as I mentioned last week, he spent a lot of time thumbing through names, reading history, studying maps, and looking at different geographical names and historical figures that we could consider. And I didn't want this opportunity to pass again. Other comments or questions?
I just have one other comment just to add on to that in terms of looking at this resolution, I think it's important for our current and future students to have an understanding of our county's long history in supporting public education. And one of the benefits of keeping these names is to keep that history in the forefront of each and every one of the students that passes through our halls. And I know listening to Dot Brower there earlier saying she's a proud graduate of 1969, that history coming from those of you who have gone through the schools and ensuring that you make sure that our current students, as they go through the new schools, understand the pride that you have with that will be an important legacy that you will leave as well. So I challenge all of you out there. I'm looking at you, Dot. So I do understand the rationale for this resolution, and I will be voting in support of it.
Madam Chair, I move that we certify the names of new schools currently under construction as Aberdeen Elementary School, Southern Pines Elementary School, and Pinehurst Elementary School.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay.
Madam Chair,
By 5-1.
may I read the message from the Mayor of Aberdeen regarding
Certainly.
this? The Mayor of Aberdeen, Robbie Farrell, he's being sworn in as Mayor of Aberdeen this evening, and he wanted to be here very badly, but he asked me to give you this message. It says, whereas there has been a public school in Aberdeen, North Carolina for over 100 years, in the year 1915 being the first graduating class of Aberdeen High School. And whereas the new Aberdeen Elementary School currently under construction is to replace two obsolete schools, both named Aberdeen, and the new campus is within the corporate limits of the town of Aberdeen, it is fitting and proper the new elementary school bear the name Aberdeen Elementary School. On behalf of those residing in the Aberdeen School District, the Aberdeen Board of Commissioners and Mayor, I wish to thank the Moore County Board of Education and Superintendent Grimacy for naming the new school Aberdeen Elementary School and continuing the tradition of educating our youth in a school bearing that proud name. Thank you for your service to the citizens, parents, and all students enrolled in Moore County schools. Robert Farrell, Mayor of Town of Aberdeen. Thanks.
Dr. Grimacy, move on.
Yes, ma'am. You'll recall that during your work session on December 2nd, Dr. Powers presented a proposal to designate the new Southern Pines Elementary School Media Center as Bruce Cunningham Media Center. He went on to offer a report on the efforts to gain community input on that proposal. He noted that that input through the online portal and during a public forum on that topic was 100% in support. And so with that, I offer to you this evening my recommendation that the Media Center at the new Southern Pines Elementary School be named Bruce Cunningham Media Center. Happy to answer any questions.
All right, the floor is open for questions or comments.
Madam Chair, I would ask that perhaps you invite the motion in the second and then offer discussion.
You're right.
Yes, ma'am.
So moved.
All right, are there questions or discussion?
I just want to say it's been an honor serving with him, and this is the least I think we can do for him. He deserves so much more, but just to give this small token to him, I think is going to be priceless.
Madam Chair, as I stated before, Bruce had done so much for Moore County Schools and for the community. I knew Bruce when he was in our Kiwanis Club. He did so much for the community, even in that role. And I think it's a great honor that we move forward with this recommendation.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I'd like to say it was a pleasure. I was happy to be able to make that that motion. And as you're aware, Bruce and I worked together 9 years on this school board. Appreciated his thoughts and his energy and what he put into the board, especially during trying times.
The addition that I would make here is having stood in the media center that it's currently being built. It's a slab of concrete. Last I looked at it, I was standing on top of it, and the view that it has, I think Bruce, it'll be a wonderful place to remember him and all his contributions to the Southern Pine Schools and all of Moore County.
All right, other comments, questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. All right, Dr. Grimacy, back to you.
Madam Chair, can we recognize Ann Peterson?
We can recognize her. Come right ahead.
I'm not sure I meant for you to talk, but that's okay.
Too bad.
My apologies.
I realize that I'm no longer married, and I rarely wear my wedding ring, but I thought he needed to be here tonight. First of all, thank you. I don't know who the angels are, but Tanya, thank you. Jinray, thank you. He'd be so upset if I cried.
Please don't start.
There is no better way to honor Bruce Cunningham than what you have done. Aside from his family, who he fiercely loved, he loved learning, and he loved the children of Moore County. And we had, I don't know if Tanya's still here, but we cried when our children left Southern Pines Schools. So if anyone out there is in doubt about Southern Pines Schools, please do not be. It is a magnificent place. So just in short, it is a fine way to honor him. It is incredibly appropriate. I know he would be humbled by this. And the final point I want to make is that his birthday would have been next Monday. So thank you for the perfect gift.
Happy birthday, Bruce.
All right, back to you, Dr. Grimacy.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and thank you all for your actions on that recommendation. Very well deserved. During your work session last week, you'll recall that Mr. Barath and Mr. Ramey presented a plan for closure and disposal of the primary and elementary schools in Aberdeen and Southern Pines. Their presentation provided rationale for the closures of the Aberdeen primary and elementary schools and the Southern Pines primary and elementary schools, as well as the property disposal process, along with legal requirements, recommendations, and a resolution for consideration. In light of the construction of several new schools and the impacts of the school board's approved student assignment plan, the buildings and grounds housing the current Aberdeen Primary, Aberdeen Elementary, Southern Pines Primary, and Southern Pines Elementary schools will soon no longer be needed for public school purposes. Specifically, based on the current construction timelines and logistical planning, it is anticipated that the Aberdeen Primary and Aberdeen Elementary schools will no longer be needed for public school purposes on or about June 30th of 2020. In fact, we currently are feeling good about the certificate of occupancy in the month of February at the latest. The challenge for you with the Aberdeen schools is that you will begin incurring cost for a school that you do not need as of July. We will have the obligation to pay for the utilities and to maintain those structures. Yes, we could ignore them and let them dilapidate, but I think the community will hold you to a higher standard. I don't think you'll be allowed to do that. I think you'll need to take on that expense. You have the issue of the county commissioners having expectations for the funding that comes in for these buildings, pending their final determination of the right of first refusal. The Southern Pines Primary and Southern Pines Elementary Schools will no longer be needed for public school purposes on or about December 31st. And with all due respect to Fenton's note that with construction projects, you always have to allow for delays. I would tell you that right now our experience with the Southern Pines Elementary School, as with the Northmore High School addition, both of these projects are on time, and the work that's being done by Monteith Construction has been remarkable. And so we have a great deal of confidence that they will meet their deadline, which, by the way, is in September. So even if there's a delay, it'll be no more than a month or two, and we anticipate with great confidence that we'll have certificate of occupancy by the end of October at the latest. So you will begin to incur cost for buildings in which you are not educating children as of January of 2021. So in some respects, I compliment the Southern Pines Land and Housing Trust on a number of different levels. But on a practical level, their offer has inspired us to move up the attention that we've given to the disposal process relative to the point at which we start incurring costs for buildings that we do not need. And so that is the reason for the fact that it would appear as though we're rushing the process, but we really are not. We are looking at what the deadline is at which we start to incur cost, and we are trying to be prudent and responsible in making sure we have a process. Now, there is no question about the Aberdeen schools, and so let me just, for a minute, remind you about how the upset bid approach works. Mr. Wilkinson mentioned the auction will begin on July 1. Well, that's not an auction, it's an upset bid process. And so with that, that process itself is the remedy for what occurred when we used the sealed bid approach with the Academy Heights School in Taylortown. With upset bid, we have a high degree of transparency. We also have a very slow-moving process. And to date, we have had no interest in that property outside the Southern Pines Land Trust. And so I think that on one hand, you as a board have to be attentive to the expectations from the county commissioners and the taxpayers to make sure that you exercise your responsibility under the law to seek fair market value. And in the absence of an offer, the only way to define fair market value is an appraisal. Now, does that mean that in the end, the appraised value is what the law requires for fair market value? Absolutely not. But if you are to engage in the negotiation process, as explained by legal counsel in public session last week, then appraisal is the only place you have to start. You don't have anywhere else. There's no other way to define fair market value. Now, we will have an updated appraisal available to present to the public at your January work session as of now. Unless something happens, that process is underway as we speak, and there's not going to be any delay. And so if we are staying on schedule and we're able to report to you by January on what the appraised value of the 4 properties, including Southern Pines Primary, is, then there indeed would be 6 months between the time that the appraisal value is available and the month of June. And so I just wanted to use this opportunity to sort of go back through what legal counsel laid out to you during your work session last week as to the justification for the timetable. The Aberdeen schools, we would like to be in a position to begin as soon as possible to market the properties and participate in upset bid approach. But we can't start that until we have offered the right of first refusal to the county commissioners. And that process could occur as early as January, hopefully no later than February, and we can begin that process. And then the advocates for Southern Pines Primary be able to observe that, see how that happens, and notice how that plays out. We don't know, there could be more competition for one property than the other. We don't really know because we haven't really been talking to anybody other than the land trust with any formal degree of depth on any of the properties except Southern Pines Primary School. So, and that's good. I mean, that's the way we're supposed to be. We're supposed to approach this objectively. So your resolution, it appears that there's no other question about the resolution other than the timetable. And you have justification for the timetable. You have concerns about the timetable. Happy to answer any other questions you might have. It is my recommendation that you approve the resolution as presented. And so as you discuss this and consider a motion regarding the resolution, Mr. Ramey and I are available to answer any questions that you might have. Madam Chair.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second. All right, the floor is open for discussion, questions, comments.
Will there be any flexibility in this timetable? I mean,
Well, the only area where, so far, there's any interest in flexibility is on whether or not we start the upset bid approach in June, July. It is our hope to market the properties between now and June and July.
Okay.
But the Southern Pines Land Trust currently was the only group that was afforded an opportunity ahead of that,
Right.
that date to engage in discussions with legal counsel and our staff with respect to where we might go.
What I'm thinking is, suppose the commissioners don't move on this until March.
Difficult to assume that it'd be delayed that long, but the resolution doesn't bind you to anything beyond your control. I think that the resolution affords the public with full disclosure on the board's plans, and any adjustment to that could occur at a later time, like any other resolution that you commit yourself to. I think the value of approving the resolution right now is the degree to which it discloses the board's intentions and what its parameters are going to be for the process. Should the board decide that it's in the community's best interest to extend that at a later time, there's nothing that binds you from making a decision to amend this. I'll defer to legal counsel.
That's correct, Dr. Grimsey. I was just going to say myself that the resolution, the advantage of the resolution, it sets out a master timetable for all 4 properties. So if there is no adjustment needed in the timetable, you won't need to take additional action in open session to implement all of these various steps that you need to follow in sequence. That's not to say, though, that the board couldn't extend a deadline later by action if there were exigent circumstances. If something unexpected happened and you no longer thought this was going to meet your needs or the community's needs, you could revisit the timetable.
Thank you.
And there is nothing that keeps the county commissioners from acquiring the property at fair market value. So to date, they've indicated that they've never indicated that they have that type of interest in the properties. And so, we certainly would hope that they can make a decision prior, well in advance of March. Mr. Dennison.
Will the properties be handled individually, or, in other words, each property by itself instead of all of them together?
Yeah, under the upset bid approach, each one would be managed separately, and we would lean on our legal counsel and our agent that we're going to acquire to manage that process.
And I'd just like to make the comment, we really tried hard to make sure everyone understands what the process is through this resolution, and that there are no secrets in right now what the plans are. And I think it's important for everybody to know, so there will be no surprises later about what will happen.
Dr. Grimsey, point of clarification, I believe I understood you to say that we would move forward with getting the appraised value and have that sometime in January.
Yes.
Okay, and that is before the commissioners, whether they make up their mind in March, we'll still have the appraised value. And Moore County Schools has such limited resources. I think it's very important that we try to divest ourselves from these properties so that we don't incur unwanted expenses for their upkeep. So I would recommend that we move forward with the resolution as stated, and if down the road there becomes a need to make some adjustment for some reason, then we entertain that at that time.
You know, if the appraisal is available in January, I would ask that through legal counsel, we inform Mr. Wilkinson as soon as it is received so that he would know.
Absolutely, Madam
of
Chair.
the
That's Dr. Grimacy and
appraisal.
I've discussed that. My intent is to send it the day I receive it.
Other comments or questions?
And that could be before the end of this month. You know, we're working on that as we speak.
I was just gonna say, the quicker the commissioners decide, the quicker the process we can get going on this. Is that correct?
Right, yeah, and they've got, you know, we'll be mailing the resolution with a letter to Chairman Quiss as early as tomorrow. And they have 2 meetings in January and then 2 meetings in February. It's our hope that when they get it, that they'll be able to read the resolution. For them, it's just a decision of whether or not they see value in the properties, to the extent that they're willing to invest. And then they would be the ones responsible for either disposal or revitalization of those properties.
Well, I know it's hard to get funding, so with that trust, I understand that it will take us some time for them to get their money. So I think having that time frame is probably more essential to them. So I just want to make sure that, you know, we are looking out for everyone's best interest on this.
And I'd like to add to what Mr. Weaver said. We have a long list of capital needs at multiple schools throughout the county. So we have been charged with, charged with getting the most for our properties as these go on the market, because that money must be reinvested and used well to maintain our other properties. So we will hope that it's a quick sale on all 4 of the properties for the maximum amounts as well. But are there other questions or comments? All right, seeing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Right now to our superintendent's report.
I have nothing to add to anything that the staff and I have presented during our rather lengthy work session last week and this evening. Madam Chair, to you and the board, I offer my compliments and my best wishes for a restful and joyous holiday season.
All right, we'll take us to board comments. Mr. Weaver, would you like to begin tonight?
First, I'd like to recognize the talent that we experienced at the beginning of our meeting. It just goes to show you what goes on in our schools and the talent that resides there. We're doing things right, in my opinion, in that regard. And then I'd like to extend holiday wishes to the board, Dr. Grimacy, his staff, the teachers, and the students, and hope everybody has a safe, happy holiday season and a very successful New Year.
Dr. Branham.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah, and a joyous Kwanzaa.
Mr. Dennison.
Blessed Christmas and Happy New Year to everybody.
Ms. Caldwell.
I just want to say thank you for everyone that came out and spoke tonight. Even though you may not think we don't listen, we really do listen. And same as everybody else, happy holidays to everyone. Hope I covered that all. And 2020 is going to be great.
Ms. Waller-Miller.
I don't have much to add, except for I hope everybody takes some time to recharge during the holidays. It's been a very busy year, and reflecting on what we've done for our students and staff, and particularly our teachers and our staff. I hope you take that time to recharge and get your energy up for the rest of the year.
Tonight has led us to some important steps forward as we've officially marked the closing dates of Aberdeen Primary, Aberdeen Elementary, Southern Pines Primary, and Southern Pines Elementary Schools. Though we've known this day would be coming, it still carries special significance as it moves us forward in an extensive plan for capital improvements while bringing safety, security, and equity to schools long in need of replacement. In addition, our principals and faculties now know they will be walking new hallways filled with past history as they maintain the names of Southern Pines Elementary School, Pinehurst Elementary School, and Aberdeen Elementary School. As we seek to learn from our past, it is time for a new generation to look to the future, and they can carry with them lessons already learned. Knowing that we still have major work ahead as we strive for continual school improvement, and we seek the programs and facilitators necessary to make this happen, I want to present my committee appointments this evening such that we are pulling upon the strength of each board member during the coming year. I will await your feedback during the coming month and make changes if necessary at our January meeting. And so I will leave these with Ms. Potter to distribute with committee assignments. Now, before we let Mr. Dennison get in the final motion, I want to take this opportunity to wish each and every member of our Morris County School family a very safe and happy holiday. May we all return in January refreshed and ready to continue on our pathway to success.
Madam Chair, move the meeting be adjourned.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.